Some of you may ask yourselves the question, is the RTX 2080 Ti nonsense at that steep price of $1,400 US? The price differs of course depending on what exact model we're talking about. However, in this comparison we're not focusing on cards within the RTX lineup, instead we compare new against old. Some of you guys requested this video and here I am bringing you this one. RTX 2080 Ti against the GTX 1080 Ti. In terms of pricing, whether or not it makes sense comparing these two graphics cards with each other, I doubt that. But on the other hand, it is understandable that we now want to compare the direct successor with its predecessor, especially since we're looking at flagship models of these generations. So therefore, I share your opinion and agree this comparison should be made. As mentioned, the 2080 Ti can be picked up for roughly $1,400 to $1,500 US. The model I have here is a bit of a more expensive one. We don't actually need to talk about pricing on the 1080 Ti, since that card soon will vanish from the shelves. The prices are climbing so high lately, it's ridiculous. Sure, makes sense, there are few left. But how much actually changed performance-wise? This time around, it makes sense comparing specs for once. To sum things up, one could say the 2080 Ti is based on the more advanced new 12nm manufacturing process, just like the 1080 Ti is equipped with a whopping 11GB of video memory with the same 352-bit bus width, although one big new thing is GDDR6 memory actually. Apparently that one should be pretty pricey, at least that's what we're told. And yeah, comparing clock speeds makes little sense in my opinion. When it comes to shader units though, things are looking a bit different. Roughly 21% more of those can be found on the 2080 Ti. After all, we're looking at one hell of a big die on this new top-of-the-line model. We also do get those RT and Tensor cores for the new introduced features on RTX GPUs, those being ray tracing, DLSS and stuff like that. Basically features we can't really make any use of yet. We do need more power connectors on the new model. That would be 2x8 pin instead of one 8 and one 6 pin connector. The TDP remains the same however. And yeah, there are some changes regarding video outputs too. Up to 8K at 60Hz can be driven now through DisplayPort 1.4a, and that USB Type-C connection is meant for VR headsets. And for the absolute minority that actually can afford it, a new multi-GPU technology is on board here, namely NVLink. A slide therefore is history. But I think what most of you most likely want to know is how much faster has the new flagship model gotten when it comes to traditional performance? Is smooth 4K gaming finally a thing with the new 2080 Ti? Well, take a look yourselves. Now please don't get those pitchforks out and start bombarding me. In the charts I have actually included overclocked results of the RTX 2080 Ti for you guys. Sure, the 1080 Ti can be overclocked as well. For that I really didn't have enough time at hand. You gotta know I'm super busy. And aside from that, it's not an overclocking video, but a normal comparison of two cards. What I for sure can say about the 2080 Ti is that it owns the 1080 Ti in almost every way possible. That can already be seen in some synthetic 3D mark tests, but also in realistic scenarios such as gaming. In many game titles that I've tested with, I more or less already achieved the max possible frame rate at 1440p. So in some way we could say for 1440p gaming, the 2080 Ti is a bit overkill, I guess. For those that want to get the highest frame rate possible, well, no worries, makes total sense. Even I am crazy about those frame rates. But we do have to admit, at a certain point we don't actually feel the difference. But then again, once in a while there comes along one of those games with golden optimization. Assassin's Creed Odyssey. In such games we don't reach the 100 FPS mark that easily at maxed out graphics settings. More interesting results, however, probably are those 4K ones. There we certainly do see some big performance improvements as opposed to what the 1080 Ti is capable of delivering. But you can't count on the fact that all and each title will run that well, something I find to be slightly disappointing at a price tag of $1,400. If you do lower the graphics settings just a little though, smooth 4K gaming definitely is possible in every instance, I guess. Do not forget about that. You don't necessarily have to be playing at the lowest possible settings, you know? So don't get me wrong, the majority of games do in fact run very well at 4K. There understandably are some exceptions here and there, of course. I find it impressive how Nvidia managed to keep the power consumption that low. Despite offering so much more performance than the good old 1080 Ti, we consume as much power as that Pascal GPU. One might would have expected a higher power draw, but that's not the case. So hats off to Nvidia, the 2080 Ti is an extremely efficient card compared to the performance delivered. But performance here, performance there, we knew it would be good. Everyone knew about that most likely, unless you've been living under a rock. What's more important is the price. Is it actually worth it spending $1,400 or $1,500 on this beast of a graphics card? And I'm sorry to disappoint you, the answer is not that simple. Let's put it this way, the price to performance ratio is not the best on the 2080 Ti. Sure, magnificent power, but only few people will actually be able to get one of these. And to be perfectly honest with you guys, I wouldn't have bought one myself, but I needed one for my testing and therefore had to somewhat empty my bank account for this. At the end of the day, it's really up to you once more, whether or not you can spend the big buck or if it's worth it for you. I for one can only say I wish Nvidia would have offered this kind of performance at the same price of a 1080 Ti or currently the RTX 2080. Do you agree with me? And as always, of course, thanks so much for watching.